Hi guys, welcome back to my very messy desk. I wanted to start off this week's reading vlog. It is Saturday, April 28th. It's Independent Bookstore Day, actually. Before I talk about that, I'm going to show you my TBR for this week. If you didn't watch the video that I posted previously, where I showed you all of the books that I'm officially currently reading and like sorted through them, I will put that link in the description or put it up there or whatever if I can figure it out. But basically I have 3 books that are due back to the library pretty soon that I want to get to. So they form my TBR. The first one is Gemina by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. The next one is Swing Time by Zadie Smith, and I have a third of this one left. I should be able to finish this one pretty soon. And then the last one is the Bedlam Stacks by Natasha Pulley. So I am hoping to get to all of these. And despite my move, oh yes, I will also be reading Middlemarch, which is my classic read at the moment. My cat really wants to cuddle. But on top of all of those books, it's Independent Bookstore Day, so I'm gonna go, don't fall, to an independent bookstore and buy more books. Actually, I have some rules. So I want to go to Independent Bookstore Day because I want to celebrate Independent Bookstore Day. Stop! Because there is an independent bookstore that opened about a year ago in my town. It's not super close to me, so it's the kind of place that I have to like deliberately make a special trip to get to, and I've been meaning to do it for an entire year and I just never have made it. So this seemed like a good excuse. I would like to buy something just to support them. That seems like the thing to do. So I have some rules. The rules are 1 book, and it has to either be a classic or an adult, like contemporary literary book. Or Shakespeare if I can't find anything else. I want to actually try to fulfill my reading challenges for myself, and I'm not doing a very good job so far, so we're gonna work on that. Yeah, so I will bring with me. I don't know if I'm gonna film in the store just because it seems like it's one of those really open places and it'll probably be pretty crowded, but I'll definitely show you what I got. So let's go. Well, the lighting is a little strange because the sun's coming from over here, but that's cool. I brought my mini tripod and now I have 2 hands and there won't be any shaky camera, so that's exciting. I did not film in the store. It was really like a super open floor plan and there were a ton of people wandering around, so I thought that would be a little weird and I didn't want to really film without permission, and I didn't really want to ask permission to film, so I didn't. It's a beautiful bookstore. It's long, kind of rectangular. Both walls are just totally lined with books on these really beautiful wood shelves, and then the middle is filled with like nice displays and stuff. The sales staff was super helpful, and their collection of books was exactly what I want an independent bookstore to be. It's a curated collection of books, essentially, which is what I want, as opposed to a store like, you know, the big box bookstores, which are great and I'm so glad that they exist, but they tend to stock their shelves based on sales as opposed to whether the books are actually good or not, I guess is what I mean. But I still really appreciated being in a bookstore where the collection was obviously very curated and thoughtfully so, and where all of the booksellers were very helpful and friendly and knowledgeable. So I'll show you what I got. I did not stick to my 1 book limit, but I have a good reason for it. Because they had a copy of The Importance of Being Earnest. I've been looking for a copy of this play for actually years, but I didn't want the Dover Thrift Edition, and that's the only one I've ever seen. It's just a really stripped down version, but unlike the Dovers, the font is actually pretty readable, and I think the cover is really pretty. So I bought this, even though I wasn't planning to buy 2 books, just because I've been meaning to have this play in my collection. I really love The Importance of Being Earnest. The film adaptation is great. The play itself is hilarious. I read it with a class of high school seniors, in which I was the teacher, and they quoted it for the rest of the year. and we read it in like October. It was just, they loved it so much. So it's just a super entertaining satirical look at Victorian society, and I really, really love it. So I'm so glad that I have this really beautiful copy. This is the kind of thing that I'm talking about with, you know, independent bookstores. Like, somebody decided that this was a necessary thing to put on their shelves because they only have so much shelf space, and I am so glad that they did. It's really pretty. Okay, and then the real book that I bought, a new book that I haven't read before. I had a really hard time picking a book out because everything on the shelf was either something that I had read already or something that I was interested in reading. So I actually picked up, this is one of those things where that make small bookstores so great, is that I really just couldn't decide on what I wanted. And so ultimately I got Kafka on the Shore by Haruki Murakami. This is like, I think, magical realism, and it's a story about a boy named Kafka who is on the run, and a man named Nakata who kind of becomes a friend of Kafka, and then stuff happens. The back is really vague. But I'm okay with that. I know that this is magical realism, and I feel like sometimes with magical realism, you just kind of want to read the book. You don't want to know what's going on because it's hard to know how to explain stuff because it's kind of weird. So I'm excited about that. But the reason I picked this one up over the 3 or 4 other books that I was considering is because Murakami was recommended by booksellers. They had the little, you know, little shelf tags. They're like, here, I recommend this book. The one that was recommended is actually not Kafka on the Shore. It's one of his other books, Wind Up Bird Chronicle, I think. And the only reason I didn't get the Wind Up Bird Chronicle is because it's almost twice as long, and you saw my giant pile of books that I have to read. I'd like to be able to get to this one pretty soon. It's probably going to be my May literary fiction read. So I wanted to actually be able to get to it soon and finish it, actually. So I'm trying to set myself up for success here, even though obviously I'm not doing a great job. So I picked this one instead, but just the fact that Murakami was recommended kind of made me pick him over the other books that I was thinking about getting. Also, because it was Independent Bookstore Day, I got this cute little glasses cleaner. They also had like drinks, coffee and wine and water and little cans of Coke, and it actually was kind of this like fun, festive atmosphere, like book festive, so like really low-key and introverty. So anyway, I will see you guys tomorrow. So, oh, of course I turned on the camera and my cat just decided to show up. There she is, behind the camera. Stay back there. No, don't smell the camera. No, you need to move. This is not a place for kitties. I have finally come to some important decisions about my TBR. No, you can't be on the thing. Well, not about my TBR. So, a couple of days ago, I posted a video where I went through all of the books that I was currently reading, which means that they were books that I had opened in the last month or so, I guess. And I just kind of piled them all together. A whole bunch of them were from the library. I just needed to figure out what I had. And since I made that video, this has changed. So, all of a sudden, the last couple of days, I realized I kind of want to take a break from YA. I've been reading a ton of YA for the first couple of months of this year, and that really wasn't my intention, but it's fine. Some of those books were really, really good. I really enjoyed them. We all know about my current Laini Taylor obsession, and that is not going to go away anytime soon. But the last couple of YA that I've picked up recently, I don't know. I'm not feeling it. And I feel like there's just so many contemporary and literary fiction books that are like backlisted that I have not read, and I've been meaning to read for ages, and I just kind of like put it off and put it off and put it off. And school's over now, more or less. And I have almost 3 full months. I don't have anything else that's mentally taxing going on. So I'd like to just try to make this kind of a summer where I keep the YA to a minimum and I read some of these backlist books. So with that in mind, my TBR my immediate TBR from that last video has changed a little bit, and so I thought I would just show you the books that I have, what I'm sending back to the library, what I've read in the last couple of days. So the first book is the one that I just finished recently. I should take this out because it's going back to the library tomorrow, and that is Swing Time by Zadie Smith. Great book, very interesting. I gave it 4 stars and I really enjoyed that. So technically this is my contemporary literary fiction pick for April. I finished it May 1st, but that's fine, whatever. Same difference. The next book that I am immediately currently reading is Upstream by Mary Oliver. This is a collection of very short, kind of poetic essays or contemplations, and I have just been reading like one before bed. They're quite short. Most of them are fewer than 10 pages, and I find them just really beautiful and lyrical and thoughtful. I think I might actually buy a copy of this book because I'd love to kind of dig deeper into it and tab some things and do some underlining and things like that. I did start the Bedlam Stacks. Turns out this book is not due as early as I thought it was, so I think I can finish it before I go on my trip. I don't want to take library books with me if I can help it, so this one I'm kind of prioritizing. I am like a third of the way in, roughly, maybe a quarter. I think a third. And I am enjoying it so far. It's quite interesting. In the story, former East India officer Merrick Tremaine has been injured, kind of invalided out, and he's asked to join an expedition to essentially steal the trees that make quinine, which is the only treatment for malaria, from Peru. And he's chosen because of he's a botanist essentially, and so between his field experience and his plant experience, and then also his family has connections to a town, New Bethlehem, which is the Bedlam reference, in Peru. So it's like a cover story. And I think that was kind of being set up as like a, essentially like a heist is gonna change. And so that'll be kind of interesting. I'm in this place where I'm kind of unsure where the story is going, which is not a bad thing. So far the prose is really lovely. I really enjoy the characters, and it's just been a really interesting read. I also started V.E. Schwab's Gathering of Shadows. I said I wasn't going to because it's not due to the library for a while and I wouldn't mind buying it, but I was curious, so I started it and I read 6 chapters last night at like midnight. So oops. I forgot how excellent V.E. Schwab's prose is, but this is the second book in the Darker Shade of Magic series, and so far we're following Lila, who's a pirate. So that is what I am currently reading. Here's what I'm doing with everything else that I have. So I'm going to turn the camera around. This is my pile of books that I went through, minus the ones that I just showed you, that I went through in my previous video. And what I've decided to do is send everything that's standing out back. I finished the saga books, so that's why they're going back. But everything else, I'm just finishing. I read a chapter or 2 of Ink and a chapter of Dread Nation, and I just wasn't feeling them. They felt, although the premise interested me, they both felt like very kind of typical YA novels, and there wasn't anything that made me feel like I really wanted to keep reading them. So I'm going to send them back. I just feel like I have a lot of really excellent books that I want to read, and so I'd like to just make room for them. Same thing with Gemina. I will probably come back to it later, but I'm just not feeling like reading a whole lot of YA right now, so I'm gonna send it home. So these are the books that I kind of have to read. I am gonna try to finish off these YA books. Nemesis was just so interesting, so I want to keep going. And then I was enjoying all of these books. So while I feel like they're not maybe the like rich, meaty books that I'm kind of looking for right now, I think I don't mind just kind of flying through all of them and getting them finished. I might even bring some of them with me on my trip. And then I kind of forgot that I was reading Nevernight, which is a shame. So once I finish with the Gathering of Shadows, I'll probably pick this back up. So that's kind of what's going on. All of those books are going back to the library. I'm gonna keep Nemesis for a little while. I'm done with school and one of my jobs, and so now I have a whole bunch more time. Hi guys, it's me. I wanted to mostly pop in because I have finished my master's and I'm really excited, and I just wanted to say that to another person. I don't know. Turned in all of the things that I needed for my thesis today, or finished doing that. I started the process on Wednesday. One of those administrative fun things. I attended the last meeting for the University Writing Lab. I paid all of my fines at the library. I ordered the transcripts for my PhD program, and I'm done. I'm so excited. So that's all I really wanted to say. Reading update. The one of the ones that I am really focusing on is The Bedlam Stacks by Natasha Pulley. I was a little hesitant about this book because the premise made it sound like it was going to be this cool, like, magical realism story, and then the first couple of chapters made it sound like it was going to be an explorer adventure story, and those two things aren't mutually exclusive, but I wasn't seeing the kind of, like, mysterious and kind of, like, contemplative stuff that the book had promised, but we got there. It made it there, so I'm super excited about this too and really enjoying it. I did one of those, oh, I'll just read to the end of this chapter, and then, 3 chapters later I actually stopped reading it kinds of things. I'm almost halfway through. I'm also reading Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab is the other one. Also really enjoying it. Can't put it down. So my kind of goal this weekend as far as reading goes is to finish these 2 books so that I can start a new little mini reading challenge kind of thing next week, because I don't have a lot going on next week, so I'm going to have lots of time for reading, and I will talk about that in the next clip, if not the next video, because I don't have all the books here, and also I'm in my car again, so we'll just move on from that. But I finished my thesis, y'all. I'm so excited. Okay, I'm done now. I have to go grade senior research papers now because I'm also a high school teacher, apparently. The last 6 weeks I've been long-term subbing for a senior class, senior English class, in a senior English class. I've been long-term subbing in a senior English class. Words. I promise I have a graduate degree in English. I'm good at the English, and they just turned in their research papers to me yesterday, and the grades are due tonight because graduation and stuff, so gotta go do that thing. Fortunately, I've seen the papers like 12 times. I gave them like a bajillion deadlines, and so I don't think I'll have too much to say as long as they have taken my advice from the last paper that I graded heavily. So it shouldn't take too long, but that's the life of the grad student slash teacher, right? Yay! I finished my master's degree. I'm gonna go celebrate by drinking coffee and grading papers. Alright guys, so that was my reading week. It was kind of a short and quick and boring one because I was also finishing my thesis. I actually only finished 2 books this week, and both of them were books that I started before this week. That's okay though, because I finished my thesis this week and also one of my jobs. So I call that a win. I think it balances out. So the first book that I finished this week was Still Waters by Vivica Stein, and I read this on my Kindle, so I'll put the cover up here. Still Waters is the first book in the Sandham Mysteries series, and it came across my attention because Amazon on World Book Day was running a special for some of the books, like translated popular books. So I downloaded the ones that sounded interesting, and I was in a really big mystery mood, so I started reading Still Waters. I liked it. I think I gave it 3 stars. The prose was kind of meh. Although I don't know if that's the author or just because it was translated. Sometimes that happens. It was kind of wooden. It just felt kind of wooden. I gave it 3 stars. I enjoyed it. I kept coming back to it. The prose was disrupting enough that I came out of the story because of it a couple of times, but not so much that I interrupted my enjoyment of the story. The mystery was very interesting. There was a nice twist at the end. I was surprised by who the killer was, and I was interested, actually not so much in the main detective. He's the typical, like, macho guy with a sad past kind of thing. Some of the side characters were pretty interesting, especially Nora, and I think she'll be in the future series, so I enjoyed it enough to want to keep reading. So eventually I'll pick up more of the series. The next book I finished was Swing Time, which was one of my goals, and I did accomplish it. It was the only book that I wanted to finish that I actually had to go back to the library. So I did manage to finish it. I just kind of sat down and read most of what was left. And I really liked it. There was some kind of like big event that was being foreshadowed kind of heavily through the story, and I was worried that it would become kind of sensational and that would have been very jarring for the like overall tone of the book, and it didn't happen like that. Like there was still a big scandal, but the tone kind of like managed to keep it from feeling sensational. It wasn't about what happened, it was about the characters' reactions to it. So Springtime is a novel that follows an unnamed narrator as she kind of is talking about after this big event. She's looking back on her life and especially on her friendships and relationships with her mother, her boss Amy, who's like an international pop star, and with her first like BFF, a girl named Tracy. So the narrator and Tracy both grew up in kind of the, what are they called in England, like council housing or something? So for lower income, lower class people, and then they were in a dance class together. And so it just reflects on their relationship, their friendship. They kind of drift apart as they get older, and then complicated relationship that the narrator has with this woman Amy, who's this pop star. I was really interested in it. It's definitely a character-driven story, although some interesting things happen. Amy decides that she wants to do some charity project, so she builds a school in a town in Africa. And so there's kind of this like subtle critique of the rich Westerner coming in and trying to do something to help the community, and does it actually help the community? Are there better ways that you might be able to help the community? What kind of impacts does it have? So it thinks about that a little bit, but it's not by any means like a hard-hitting social critique or anything. It's just kind of this one person reflecting on their own life that's complicated by ideas like upward mobility. Her mother gets a college education and becomes a member of parliament. So anyway, just a lot of things that touch this person's life that are thought about. And it was something I really enjoy. I would like to look up more Zadie Smith in the future. I have heard a lot about White Teeth, and I think I'll try to pick that one up next. Okay, so I did actually finish the Bedlam Stacks. I wasn't planning to do that tonight. I'm not sure why. I thought it would take me longer than it actually did, but I sat down to read for 30 or 45 minutes, and then I realized that after that I had like 50 pages left, so I just went ahead and finished the book. I should pick it up and show you. It was really great. I think I'm gonna give it 5 stars. I really like what happened to it. Like I said, when I started reading it, I was worried that it would be more of like a spy, stealth, explorer, mission kind of story with lots of drama and excitement and blah, and that wasn't really what I was looking for in the story. I wanted something that was more magical realism, and I was especially looking for something that had this kind of like set in the real world, but that kind of like dreamy feel that magical realism has. I can't explain it, except that it just like there's this like dreaminess to it where you realize that it's, you know it's not real, but it might be real, and that it just takes on this kind of like really lovely painted quality, and the Bedlam Stacks had that in spades. So the story really is about Merrick Tremaine, who gets to this town in New Bethlehem in Peru. It's a place that his father and his grandfather had both been to, and that he had heard about, although his father died when he was 8, so he didn't get, like, all of his memories are from when he was very small. So he doesn't really understand the deal with the city, except that it was important to both his father and his grandfather. He's really there just as an excuse to get the cenote trees, which produce quinine. But when he's there, he meets the village priest, a man named Raphael, and he's also introduced to just some things that seem kind of odd, and eventually it kind of unravels, and you realize that what he thought was a trick or a clever machine is actually this really interesting but this like, anyway, I don't have very coherent thoughts about it. My cat's over here. She's, don't knock over the phone. This is, it was really lovely and had that lovely quality that I was looking for. Even the dramatic things happened quietly, and it, I think, is a book that there's an airplane. I live near an airport, so occasionally jets do happen. Anyway, if you like magical realism and you like those kind of quiet, thoughtful stories. This one certainly had plenty of action. Like, it wasn't one of those stories that's super character driven and like has no plot. But I feel like I can't really talk about the plot other than kind of what's revealed on the back, because otherwise it's kind of spoilery, and I'd rather just say go read the book. It was amazing. I think it's coming out in paperback soon, so I think the next time that I see it in the store, I'll pick it up. I'm gonna go collect my thoughts now. Maybe eat dinner, because I kind of skipped that part. Anyway, so The Bedlam Stacks was the third book that I finished this week. I started and finished it this week. 5 stars. And that was a great way to end my reading week. I will see you guys next week. And so, yeah, anyway, that was my reading week. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please go ahead and subscribe. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter. The information is in the description box. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next week. Bye!